Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to the old version of ReThink. I guess we could call that the original version of ReThink. Now, I kind of love the fact that there's a secret code in these signs as far as indicating what the puzzles are even going to have in them. Although that is directly contradictory compared to, say, the signs in Portal, where the icons were fairly obvious as far as what elements were going to be in the game. But I kind of like the idea of a puzzle on top of a puzzle where you have to just naturally intuit what this means. Which this could mean that there's blue and orange elements, walls that switch when you hit the middle mouse button. But when I hit the middle mouse button, the sign doesn't change. Or this might even be the light up panels we walk on. We'll learn very quickly. That being said, there is a slight issue, I would say, around this being puzzle 20. This is basically the last puzzle I'd like to see that is focused around swapping blue and green, blue and orange, not green, which maybe they could certainly expand it to having it be blue and red and green, and the orange could just be a light red. But yeah, I would kind of like to see a wrap up on this, and I would like to get back to the laser puzzles and the light puzzles. It has been silly, certainly, that the last 10 puzzles I've done have all been about platforming, and so the icons in the lower right corner, number 1, 2, and 3, might as well have just disappeared. And certainly that gives a room, if you're going to make your game play that way, which I'd argue it shouldn't play that way, there is definitely an argument to be made around having some kind of storyline explanation, something that would, I can't just jump up there, something that would explain away your laser beams being broken or being missing. Okay. I need to be in blue mode to go through the blue. Then I need the middle mouse button away from blue mode once we get through the first blue shield, so I don't go all the way through. It seems to me that the tops of all these squares here either mean nothing, or there is some bigger Tetris-like puzzle element that they're going for. We have a battery, that's what I've decided to start calling these, hidden in the middle here. But something's got to open that and raise it up. And I am not sure what that something is. And I would argue that if you're going to land somebody, you should probably land them past the jump pad so they don't just accidentally walk into the jump pad. It looks to me like we're going to have to work our way around with some jumps. So we're still doing the jumping stuff to eventually get to a battery here. It is awkward, certainly without controller support. I would have had much finer motion control, definitely, if this was just controller supported, instead of having to work your way through a WASD setup. And I guess the question here is, can we get high? Let's start with that question. Can we jump? from here to here? No. So we're doomed already. There's got to be something more to this, but it doesn't look like there are any of these black spaces. We can run and jump on this, and I didn't actually run, I just jumped, but I don't think we can get up to that to get those extra pieces, which are almost certainly needed. And this would be so much easier if there was just one more cube somewhere. So much easier. So let's look around before we just assume. I wouldn't be surprised if there was even a message or storyboard, like somewhere around here, a log hidden in the corners under a brick or something. I also wouldn't be surprised if you ended up raising, lowering, or twisting these platforms. If I could get to this point, a run jump to this and a run jump, run double jump effectively to that does feel right. It's just going to be a matter of getting it done. And inherently this is very, very far away from what fans of the laser puzzle game would want. Now, that didn't work. Maybe I do have to get higher even so. Even in Portal, I feel like there was some of that certainly where some of the platforming did just feel wrong. It just felt out of place and not what we want. So I can basically jump upward one cube, so it would have to be you put it here, get up to that, you put it here, and then that is as equal distance as possible, and then you run and jump, and then you run and jump. And my satisfaction on a challenge like this is going to just greatly decrease. It's not run and jump though. It's got to be just a regular jump, doesn't it? I wouldn't be surprised if the game actually is designed so that you never actually should run while jumping. Or I triple jumped there, but that did work without the run. This is where a poster that just said no running might be valuable too. If there was straight up a sign that said no running. Decisions now. I think you run and jump on this one. Well, let's do the math equation here. I did a double jump from here, which was worth 2 squares, 2 larger squares or 4 smaller squares, and the jump started with 3, lands on the 4th. So that does imply to me that I probably should put it in either the 2nd or the 3rd spot and do a run and jump. if I flew really far, even the 4th spot might make sense. The major problem here, I'll say, is that you just don't have a lot of wind up. So I don't know. So if you're here on this corner, you need to really just be on the edge. And then you need to jump before you run off the edge. Which feels like you basically need to jump almost the exact same instance that you press W. Can I jump up more than one cube? Or would landing on this lower cube be too much? Maybe I should go for lower. No, once again, it was not actually running and jumping. There's a lot of spots here. Well, this is better than the new version of the game because you do have this kind of bars and tint on the glass. There's a lot of spots where it feels like you're facing in outward to see something when maybe there should just be a bar in the middle so you have that extra bit of safety. It's pretty easy to ignore the lower part C here and think that you could jump here or that you needed to jump there. This effectively stops, I think, your need to do the rest of the puzzle if you just want to fidget instead with stair stepping. You can't it might be a thing where you can't actually put things down on the ground, touching the ground. Like, I may not really need to even get up here. It may just be so easy to stair step up. Just have to be somewhat careful about not messing up completely and falling through a gap. There's a window here. Don't really need to go upward in this case. It might be wise to either use the stair step kind of glitchiness to go higher to ensure placement, which is really just going to be a lot of clicking, or also hold it against the window. Now, you can't click anything middle mouse button while you're doing this because you just fall through them. That's one that direction. And we've got a bit of a problem here. We didn't have enough room. Ah. Come on, downward one. It is questionable whether it is just worth the player's time to fiddle with the glitchiness, where pretty obviously this shouldn't be allowed. What I'm doing here versus fiddling with the jumping, which also is just not polished enough to be a great experience. So 20 puzzles in, it's not like I can make the argument that the making of a new version of ReThink was completely out of line, but did remove so much content and oversimplify it. I'm not running, and I'm still struggling to walk in a straight line. Oh. I didn't actually need to do that, do I? We can just do that, and that, and get up here. It definitely comes off like the new version of the game is in some way. I'm bouncing between using a mouse pad and not using a mouse pad in this game too. If you're noticing that sometimes I'm a little bit smoother on turning the mouse and sometimes I move too fast with an overly sensitive mouse. I'm gonna go all the way down here and see if there's a battery attachment point somewhere on the base of this platform. Doesn't seem like there is. And it really doesn't seem like there's any secrets down here. Yeah, it's not really acceptable to potentially completely remake your game and make it way simpler just because you couldn't dial in the programming of the physics. Physics are hard, I'll grant you that. And certainly I could see why people would struggle to get the jumping right, to have debouncing on the mouse clicks and the space bars and all of that, but it's not a valid enough excuse. Let's see where this leads me. It sends me back to where we were. Okay, what happens if I put that there? Does that power that? No. What happens if I put that there? Does that power that? No. So it seems to me like there's another battery somewhere. Can't get over here until we've powered a platform, and I guess that would be the question to check. Does this turn on a platform? Yes, it does. And so that's how we get out of here. But where is the other battery? It's clearly there's a battery here. And I have 3 cubes that I can't do anything with. Though I am seeing it looks like some kind of glitch. I should be able to go through orange if this was just an orange barrier stopping me. We could fall down here. Oh, and we've got to light up all of this. So there is more. And on top of that, it is platforming more. Okay. So then the question comes down to, did that reset when I touched that red circle? Probably. It did. So maybe this panel is supposed to even indicate something. So we've got to probably start here. This is lit up. When I fall down here, is that still lit up? I can't see to tell. But pretty obviously the red square that resets everything at the very least. So we probably have to start here. And I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to pause the recording for a second, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Took me a while to actually find the pause button when I was trying to pause there too. So yeah, this feels like this might be the solution, but I don't think it is either. Because if I was to jump here, I basically have to jump there, jump back here, jump here, then you have a fairly wide gap. So it's going to have to be a run jump there, and then a jump here, and then zigzag, zigzag, and yeah. It does seem like that's what's going to happen here. Is I'm going to have to jump quite a bit. And it probably is that starting point over there that we want to start. And then we're hoping if we light everything up that it will just eject the battery and that there isn't some kind of extra exit we have to take. And perhaps the greenery there is to indicate the ending. Let's go. Can we just go to the other side completely? Nope. Not smoothly. Not if I have the wrong thing turned on. Yeah. This is basically gotta be the end point. Because jumping to that is pretty much it. See, if we get across on this and then we hit here, and then we went here, and then we did that and that. Then we jumped across and we did that and that. There's about 4 or 5 jumps here. It seems like we're going to have to do. And I would say these panels perhaps need something more to them. It was far too easy to just look at the top of these squares and think that they were just gray for no reason, artistic for no reason. Okay. Start here. Do a walking jump there. And jump up here, jump over here, and walk over here. And this is where the running jump is going to come into place, which maybe makes an argument we should start somewhere about here, jump back here, and then take the full run to hit that. And I'll try this. That worked. Okay. What would be the easiest path? Probably the safest thing to do is do that. And then this is just a walk jump, and I barely made that. And if I walk in the middle of this, then you have this like diagonal jump you would have to do against the wall, which was probably not a terrible thought. To do that, to do all of that, to do that, to do that, to do that. Oops. Yeah, and as far as I can tell, the lights are still lit up. So if there was a way to get back up without hitting the reset panel, might have a chance. But there is no way to get back up without resetting. But as we flew up, we did see that was the point where it reset. When Portal 2 introduced, and I know I'm making a lot of comparisons to Portal 2 here, but when they introduced the idea of co-op puzzles, there was something very odd about that, because you know, most people solving almost every other puzzle game would have done it solo, or even puzzles before video games existed. But in this case, particularly for puzzle 20 here, it feels like it would make sense to consider at least having a co-op function, because I could see one player, even if both players were not particularly great at jumping, one player spending a lot of time jumping around to get one battery, while another player is spending a lot of time jumping around to get the other battery. Okay. So decisions have been made. To get to this spot. And then decisions must be made to get to other spots, which weirdly means I think I need to run and jump over here, then walk back here, and we'll do a walking jump here. this could do a walking jump, I believe, to this direction. I'm hoping I can do that. But honestly, I don't even really need to do a walking jump. I could have just done a running jump to this direction, and then I could have walked here. Everything's going to just be reset anyway, so there's no extra setup or extra help you can get by falling. And this is much more manageable than it felt like originally. Almost made a mistake there. Yep. Perhaps there's some lesson to be learned at this spot, because I could go here or I could go here. I could also just tap this square and then jump to this square, but that just seems like that's an extra unnecessary jump. And since where the jumps are where you're going to fail. It arguably should be more of a case that you do a walking jump here, a jump here, jump here, jump here, or walk here, and then a running jump here. I guess the question though is, would a running jump have made it that far? Let's see. There are, from this spot, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So if I was to run and jump from this spot, how many squares did I cover? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it does seem like that's probably the solution. They're putting one of the most dangerous jumps right at the end. Which I don't really appreciate that. That's 4 squares, by the way, too. So we had already proven that that distance was a valid distance to jump, had I been paying more attention. And this is a 4 square jump also. So once again, that proves that it was a valid run jump distance. It's interesting that, whoops, no less than 3 times the game shows you that you can make the distance, and it still doesn't really sink in. There definitely needs to be some kind of light bulb logo or something on these platforms. Everything turned green, we heard a sound effect, but weirdly, it is worth pointing out you don't get a sound effect when you light up these panels either. So there is definitely a scenario where a player would accidentally stand on one of those, not realizing what it does, and then not get any kind of audio feedback. The audio and the music by default in this version of the game are very quiet. Alright, that is platform number 2, and I would say almost 100% certain that there aren't any other secrets or anything else for puzzle 20. I'm really hoping we go back to laser lights. We don't really even know, since there's only one sign here, whether this is a sign to indicate that blue and orange walls will be involved and you need to use the middle mouse button, or if it indicates that there are light up panels, which I would assume this means blue and orange walls and not light up panels. There's also no symbols indicating that you need to collect batteries, or that there are jump plates involved. And this is just a run jump, then a little bit more running, then a run jump. And we're auto saving. I'm going through a hallway, getting a little bit of loading lag, and I think we are entering a red section now with 21, and I see some what look like red light up panels. And middle mouse button is not changing the orange here from being on. Here's a good point to test out the video settings. What happens if I turn off decorative lights and then click save and close? Well, it did not turn off what I would have called the decorative lights by any means. It's turned off a high level of lighting, and with that turned off, the game definitely has much more of a baked in darker feel to it. It feels a little bit spookier. So yeah, this is what the lighting mechanic probably is with just light maps, a pre-programmed sun. Excuse me. Like a pre-programmed sun object in the sky somewhere, making pre-programmed light areas. Me standing in the way of the sun is not doing anything. But it is effectively not trying to calculate a high level of reflectivity on the surfaces and where the lighting would be on the surfaces. While that is a different art style, it's not a better art style by any means. Where here you have either a fake reflection in which all surfaces are emitting a little bit of their own light, or all surfaces are reflecting a lot more light. It doesn't really change too much, it just makes the whole world seem a lot brighter, which, yeah, you probably could have balanced out the brightness so even that wouldn't have happened. Right. Laser puzzles are what we're looking for. And so we are hoping that that is what we're going to hit. And it looks like we are finally at that point. This elevator being a little slow. It is very questionable why we had a little bit of loading lag in the hallway, though, if there was a ladder here. I mean, an elevator that was going to be slow anyways. Maybe they're hiding even more loading, maybe not. And see, I have clicked the middle mouse button, but this orange here is not switching to blue. So it feels like some storyline reason should have happened to say you've lost the ability to swap the between blue and orange. And it definitely feels like there is a puzzle down here. Maybe this is a puzzle we're going to reach later. And this may very well be a case that this is a central core puzzle and we have to solve 3 or 4 puzzles around it first. Puzzle 21, though. Let me see how long we've been going. Yeah, 10 puzzles of platforming with no laser puzzles seems to be way too many. It definitely feels Like, this menu is not working, by the way. I'm clicking it several times and it's not working at all. The pop-up has glitched. But yeah, it definitely feels like there should have been 1, 2, maybe 3 platforming puzzles, and we should have gotten back to laser puzzles. I assume this symbol with the red, green, and blue is the symbol for laser puzzles. We're back to more of the simple geometry, and what they've effectively done here is made a situation where it feels like you could you could have forgotten all of your puzzling and as such, to address the possibility that you've forgotten all your puzzling, the entrance to puzzle 21, because puzzle 21 may... Nope, that was puzzle 21. I thought maybe they'd give you something more than that. I guess we're in the red section now, so the doors have more of a red color palette to them. Yeah, they're just reintroducing some simple puzzles. And you kind of have to assume that there was something intentional about that. That they wanted you to do 10 puzzles of platforming so you would forget how to do the laser puzzles, which are going to be, in contrast to the platforming, way easier to solve. And then that's going to compound the issue, certainly, and make it where we're going to rush potentially through the next 10 puzzles if they're all laser puzzles. And then we'll just be back to the platforming. Bringing up my phone so I can read this. The last note was a pretty nice rage, but let's not forget what the idea behind these notes was: to help people that come after us. I also found multiple of these cubes someone mentioned in his note. I have a feeling they might be important, but I cannot explain why. It's just a feeling. That's from James F. 6/18/2275. So the person from the next day. Yeah. So it does seem like it's coming off as a case that what am I trying to say here? The notes come fairly infrequently. Okay, we want to hit that, which means we want to hit that one. This one has 4 colors. This one only has 3 colors. So maybe this symbol is indicating you need to combine colors. Okay. Which I think we can do. Just need to do that. And then that should be consistently yellow, and that should move us to the next puzzle. So 2 puzzles really now we've done in like 10 minutes. Probably closer to 5. So I feel like that proves my point that mixing the easy puzzles in between the harder puzzles has some value. Okay. That gets us green. We need red. That gets us yellow sometimes. We need more red. This might be a more complicated puzzle in that we might have to be conservative with the power. Okay, that goes there, that goes there. Or not power, I meant to say conservative with the usage of the reflectors. Okay. Do we need this green at all? I don't think we do. I think we just needed to merge two of the toggling reds. That one hitting that, and that one hitting that. And then we only needed one solid green. So there is some lesson to be learned in that. But again, not taking a ton of time. And you're running into a weird catch-22 now where your rooms are getting bigger, but not as big as the new version of the game so far. And still they're not really getting complicated. Here we have two of similar signs, which maybe indicates that we have one transmitter of green or one receiver of green and then some color mixing. Let's see, what are we trying to find here? A red and a turquoise. So yeah, that would indicate to me something. We've had splitters, I believe, so far. We haven't had a three-way splitter, though. Turquoise is blue and green. So, imagine what we're doing here is bouncing around the red with a lot of curviness to avoid hitting the turquoise. It seems like we may just need to block something. It'd be funny if there was just a empty hall way to walk there and that the glass was missing, but I imagine most people would not see that. Okay. It's not red. Basically, if there is anything here on this cube spot, which almost certainly there isn't, it would have to be red. That could hit red. Also, we could get red to go here, red to go there. Okay, we've got red down. So then we have a blue and a blue now. And that would mean that this blue would have to go this direction, which that doesn't do anything for the blue. This blue has to hit that spot, which just means this spot needs to hit that spot, which means this spot needs to go back that direction. Hit that direction. Hit that direction. And then magically, I think this is going to continuously keep a blue going at some as they toggle to turn off that. So the puzzles are getting a little difficult now, I would say, but I wouldn't inherently call it super difficult. In fact, I think there's probably enough time to do one more puzzles. And I'm still not fully understanding what this symbol means, other than it implies you will be combining colors, versus this symbol, which implies that there will be a receiver that is not combining colors, which maybe that is all it really means. We have two reds, which could be mixed here, but probably shouldn't be mixed there, and instead should be mixed somewhat like here. The question is, where's green? Because I don't see a green. We can look out in the central spot again. It wants to just remind us that that puzzle is there still. Although it also irritatingly reminds me that I'm going to end up just doing a whole bunch of jumping. So I imagine that's closer to puzzle 30. Here's our green. Which, okay. That's yellow, now combined. We have 3 more spots. It's either going to come down to that spot or this spot. Actually, I don't think it matters too much. Now, the major complaint I had about the new version of ReThink was the fact that you solve the puzzle with extra cubes. In this case, I don't think I really care that much. I did walk through this door frame and the cubes magically disappeared from my inventory. Wow, there was a whole splitter that I didn't even use. So, I don't even know why you would need a splitter or anything like that. And we'll walk through here and keep an eye on the low right corner as far as just inventory. The inventory did reset when I crossed this threshold. We are at puzzle 26 now. We're going through them so quick. This would have been a great place to have some glass on the floor to see the puzzle below you. And it would have been really cool if there was some kind of trick where seeing the solutions to previous puzzles beneath you meant something. suspect the move is to do this. We've got a decent amount of splitters too. It feels like the move and the goal is to make it, by limiting the resources, impossible to solve the puzzles in other ways. But I would have to say it seems like they're kind of failing miserably on that idea. Okay. That feels right. And then that feels right. That feels wrong. That would hit one of those targets. If I rotated it, would it hit any other targets? Or is that the right move? That might be the right move. That pattern gets every green involved, and then all I would have to do is shoot the toggling reds in there, and then that combines everything to be yellow, and that solves the puzzle. Doing this nice crisscross. It's still like the old game, still the case where you can get an X, you can get an asterisk, and that's about it. When it toggles to this other one, it doesn't make it a very interesting symbol. There is almost an hourglass shape being done in this puzzle, but that's kind of it. And we're auto-saving again. The mouse button's still not doing anything. And it seems like you can go here and do puzzle 27, or you can go on a side puzzle, and maybe this indicates to me light up puzzles. So perhaps this was yet another opportunity to show some small percentage of players who perhaps were not fully acquainted with the idea of these puzzles, that these puzzles exist. That worked. Surprised that worked. Well, doing more platforming without actually indicating that you need to do platforming by having it on a higher spot. The red circles here indicate places you can't walk, which makes me wonder if you could walk where there aren't red circles. Safer just to step on everything. I kind of wish I could solve that puzzle a second time to see if I could have just walked through this whole part. Because if I could have walked through this whole part, then I could have just run through all of this, solving everything without having to jump at all, then I could have gotten back to this point and just walked here, walked here, walked here, walked here, walked maybe to this, then touch this, then walk this, then walk here, and walk here. But yeah, I guess that's something I need to test out next time we see one of these puzzles. And maybe there was some platforming there, but maybe there wasn't. That, however, is definitely not the kind of platforming puzzles I've had trouble with in the past. And here we can have ourselves looking downward to a previous puzzle through glass. So even the thing I suggested, they actually already are doing. It's interesting noticing here too that the laser beam goes right in between the placement of all the cubes. Let's go and read this message, and then I think this is probably going to be a good place to end the episode. Yep. Let's see. Bring up my phone so I can read this from 8 feet away. These messages really wonder why no one removed our notes from the testing areas. They cannot tell me they did not notice them, so I expect they left them on purpose. But what is the meaning behind this? Do they want to teach us something? But I think there are better ways to achieve this. This is Kaylee from 6/22/2275, where the last note seemed to be 6/18, so either there was a gap in testing, or some messages maybe have been removed and other messages have been left. Inherently, if you knew people were capable of leaving messages on these pads, where are they getting the pads from? Maybe they're removing the ones that say something helpful and leaving the ones that are saying nothing helpful. Maybe there are no other test subjects, and this is part of the test to have fake test subjects. While I imagine this game isn't going to have some major reveal in the story around the messages, it is at least keeping your mind flowing with the possibilities compared to the new version of the game, which just downright sucks. And we know this puzzle. We have seen this group of puzzles where you're shooting lasers out through the center. Notably, I would say this is a way better version than the new version of the puzzle, because there's just not as many trees in the way, so you get a better idea of what you're supposed to do. I don't see where this is really changing much. But yeah, I like the emptiness in this one small section, while there's still some decoration happening throughout the rest of the world. The contrast here, where you can see the outside in this section. And so it really does give off this feeling that the new version of the game is just a fast and dirty version of the old version of the game, where they ripped out major elements of the game and basically are making an inferior product. George Lucasing the experience. Yeah. So now, stopping here, I was very excited to see what I felt like was a better game for the first 10. I was doing well for 11 through 13 or 14, maybe even 15. But by the time we got to 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, there was too much platforming, and there's just no laser puzzles at all in these 10 puzzles. And now we are back on track doing laser puzzles, and the next 3 are very memorable puzzles that we did in the new version of the game. I'm not sure if puzzles 21 through 27 are particularly direct predecessors to the same puzzles in the new version of the game. They probably are, but they're very simplistic. Had you not done these 10 platforming puzzles and just gone from number 10 to number 21, I think you would drastically find number 21 it being way too simple and oddly out of place. So I could definitely see moving some things around as far as the difficult puzzles and the easy puzzles. But because you went through 10 platforming puzzles, it gave me more than enough time to start to forget about how the laser puzzles solutions go. I should probably quit the game and reload it, since the menu is being a little glitchy too. So I'll do that in between this episode and the next. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.